All right, welcome back to the Attack the Rack YouTube channel. This is the Attack the Rack daily lineup show. Big Mo getting all situated there. Big Mo and Trent and myself, Kurt, we're here every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday talking about the latest in sports. We are going to start this episode with some Olympic stuff. The Olympics are just a couple weeks away. USA basketball, men's basketball team has began practice. Fellas, let's first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the lineup. There has been one, or the roster, there has been one roster change. And then what I want to know from each of you, if it was your decision, who would your starting five be? Okay. So roster is Bam Adebayo. Trent, did I say that right?
Yep.
Okay. Devin Booker, Steph Curry, Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant, Anthony Edwards, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Halliburton, Drew Holiday, LeBron James, Jason Tatum, and was Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi is injured and will be replaced. It has been officially announced. Derek White from the Boston Celtics will be replacing Kawhi Leonard. Guys, actually, before we get into who you would start, what do you think about the replacement, Derek White? Trent, what do you think?
Um, I mean, he's a good role player. I don't know. It depends if you want to add another superstar or not. I mean, I would probably consider Kyrie or Paul George, maybe. Those two would probably be my first two choices. And then it would probably be someone like Derek White. I mean, he's great for the Celtics and he does what you need him to do, plays hard, those things, scrappy player. But I think he'll be a good role player for them, limited minutes.
And also too, what about Derek White's teammate Jaylen Brown?
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Big Mo, what do you think about the Kawhi being replaced with Derek White?
I think not having Kawhi could be. I think he would have been a difference maker. I think just because of his physical size and defensive ability. I think they're probably lacking in that area a little bit of the toughness. So I don't know if Derek White fits the bill I would be looking for, but I also don't know if they've got like you got enough superstars. It'll be interesting to see where they go in like the point guard kind of role. I think as we looked at the roster.
Yeah, one thing too, I know I've said a few times on the channel, Caitlin Clark, if she's going to be on the Olympic team, she's got to be one of the 12 best players. I've stated I believe she is, but you know what? Maybe I'm not. Maybe that's not true. Actually true. Maybe it isn't. It doesn't necessarily have to be the best 12 guys. It has to be a group of 12 that can be most successful, and that doesn't always mean the best 12. So, I know Trent. You mentioned Kyrie Irving, obviously one of the best players in the league. I would. That's one where my mind went to. What about Kyrie? And I think we've seen it. We saw a different Kyrie this year with the Mavericks, much more of a, seemed to be loving the game of basketball again and being a good teammate. But there's obviously in his past, there's been some issues with that. Maybe they just didn't feel like, he was a good fit to make a really good cohesive group of 12.
I've also been kind of thinking about it too. It's like why all of a sudden are like the superstars playing again? Like Kurt, they played the one year. I don't even remember which year exactly it was, but they haven't been playing recently.
Right.
So is it just because the US has lost to teams is that they're deciding to play again?
It very,
Or I
yeah.
don't know. I think it's kind of weird because you got some faithful like USA players that will always play regardless. And now it's like LeBron's back, Curry's back.
Right.
Those guys are all coming back to play. I'm assuming they should win with that crew.
Right.
But is it because they lost previously and now that's like, oh, that can't happen? But it's like, well, you should have been playing for them the entire time.
Right. No, I think that very well could be. It's kind of like the Redeem team, all of a sudden a group of all superstars came back to the team after I think the Olympics prior to the Redeem team. I don't even know if they medaled.
Yeah,
Um,
they lost to Germany.
yeah. So the other thing, Big Mo, when I look at this roster, I'm like, man, there's all kinds of awesome players that aren't on this team. And then it's like, well, dude, they're not from America.
Hmm.
Know, this really, to me, really enlightens the fact that many of the best players in the world, or I'm sorry, in the NBA, are from other parts of the world. Luca, Joker, even SGA, he's playing for Canada. Now, back to Luca, um, they're out. They didn't even qualify. I forget what country he's from, Slovenia maybe, or
Yeah, Slovenia.
yeah, they didn't even qualify. But anyway, you forget like, hey, it's just a lot of the best players are, Wemby, a lot of the best players in the league are not necessarily American and won't be playing on the USA team. But I do think, like you said, Trent, the we should easily take gold despite some of these better players all playing on other teams. But again, that's one or two players per team, whereas we've got 12 NBA players on our team. But anyway, Big Mo, thoughts on, all these
Thoughts are,
superstars?
I don't know about easily, guys. I mean, think about the landscape of the NBA and the international players. So I don't think it's like a foregone conclusion. And especially when you look at just, I mean, we've probably got an older roster, and just look at Kawhi Leonard. Quickly, an injury adds up here, an injury adds up there. KD is banged up right now a little bit. He's trying to get healthy. I don't think it's an easily or foregone conclusion. I think it's going to be a battle,
Yeah.
and in basketball, sometimes like you just said, you build a team not just with the best players, but you build a team to fill roles.
Yep. So, all right, Big Mo, then with all that being said, your starting five, USA basketball 2024 Olympic team, Big Mo, your starting five.
Man, I got to go first, huh? I Embiid. Um, Looking at that roster, you can tell me if I'm missing somebody, but I'd probably go Anthony Davis, KD, Booker, and LeBron at the one.
At the one. Okay. All
That's
right.
the world's biggest lineup.
Let's bring it.
Let's
All
go.
right, Trent, you're starting five.
I got Anthony Davis at the 5. Is If Kevin Durant's healthy, I'll go Kevin Durant at the 4, and then Jason Tatum at the 3, Anthony Edwards at the 2, and Curry at the 1.
All
That's
right.
gonna be my 5.
All right, I'm going positionless, and I'm just throwing the best five dudes out there, regardless of position. And I just want to see them run and run and run and run the other teams off the floor. Um, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go LeBron. I'm gonna go Anthony Davis. I'm sorry, Anthony Edwards, not Anthony Davis. Anthony Edwards. So Anthony Edwards, LeBron, Jason Tatum, um, Kevin Durant, and Joel Embiid. So,
Wow.
yeah,
No Curry from both of you, huh?
yeah, no Curry, no,
I like bringing them off the bench, man.
yeah, yeah, me too. You just come in and hit a few threes.
Yep.
Yeah, just put the best shooter ever on the bench to start the game.
like,
You gotta defend. You gotta defend to win titles, Trent. You gotta defend to win titles.
like,
All right.
like, like Steve Kerr with the Bulls, right? I mean, best shooter in the game. He came off the
Okay.
bench.
Uh,
Any other thoughts, guys, on the U.S. Olympic team? Um, actually, Trent, you mentioned yesterday we were talking off air. Cooper,
Cooper
Cooper
Flag.
Flag in the scrimmage. Apparently, he
Yeah.
played up?
Yeah, he's incredible. I think he's gonna be really, really good. I think he's already NBA ready based
Okay.
off of that scrimmage that I saw. I mean, he was hitting pull-up threes off the bounce, making plays, tipping and one he had like a little turnaround jumper in the post. Like I think he's a complete player. Duke is very lucky
Yeah.
that he's going there for a year. I'm kind of surprised by it based off of how good he is, but I don't think he's talked about enough um, on like ESPN and at
Right.
least worldwide. Like Victor was getting talked about for a year prior. I think Cooper Flag's right there with him at least. He's just not 7'5".
Yeah. No, I would agree, and what a blessing it will be if the Pistons can get the number one pick next year.
Oh,
More than likely, they'll finish with the worst record in the league and end up with the fifth pick again.
yeah, yeah. That's
But
what I'm worried about as well. Is they intentionally do awful or unintentionally, not sure which one it is. Uh, Try to get a first pick and then they just don't get the first pick because the year that Wemby got drafted, the Pistons were the worst in the league and had the highest percentage to get that first pick, and did not happen.
right.
That'd have been nice to see Victor in a Pistons uniform.
Um, yeah. So, speaking of the Pistons, Cade Cunningham, his contract's official, signed, sealed, delivered. 5 years, $224 million. Obviously, that's a very fair contract for someone of his caliber in this day and age. But my thought is when you look at the team as a whole, Big Mo, is it worth spending that much money on one superstar when you're still probably going to be one of the bottom teams in the league? Or is it better to try to build, use that money maybe for two, still kind of probably above average guys and try to you know, build a team around, a couple guys that are pretty good rather than, one superstar. Is
Like
it better use of your money?
you can't. I think you probably have to sign Cade. I mean,
Yeah.
if you don't do something like that, you're jeopardizing probably a longer term issue. You know, I did not watch a ton of Pistons games last year. I went to one in person, and Cade was by far the best player on the Pistons roster.
Oh yeah.
They've just built such a hodgepodge roster. I don't think it complements Cade very much, and I know they're trying to get there, but they're a long ways away from probably if they're not if they don't have the worst record this next year, it'll be one of the worst. So I'm not. Maybe we don't want the worst record because then we have a better chance of dropping into that number one pick. But I think you have to sign them.
Okay. No, fair enough. Trent, what do you think? Is it better for someone in the an organization, like the Detroit Pistons that are the worst in the league? Does it make sense for them to spend that kind of money on just one player when now obviously you don't have a lot of money to surround them with anybody, and so probably you're just still year after year, 5 year deal, spending all this money makes it much more difficult to try to add pieces when all that money is going to one guy.
I think with the struggle that Detroit has of bringing in superstars or like high tier quality guys, like free agency wise, I think you have to sign him just because he is the best player on the Pistons, and you got to have someone that is going to stick around for a while. And you can make that happen by giving him a 5 year deal. And I think he was on and off being healthy last year, but when he plays, he does really well. He's very productive. I think they have to sign him because if you don't and he leaves and the replacement's not near as good, and he's still young, so I think it's a good sign. We just got to find some other guys to help him out a little bit.
Yeah. And one thing, I mean, definitely having someone, a star player like that or a player of that caliber definitely helps brings people to the arena to watch. So
Yeah.
um let's move on. We're gonna get into some college. Well, first college athletics, but kind of shifting into some college football stuff here. Phil Knight, Nike owner founder, he has come out and said basically, he's a University of Oregon grad. He is saying unlimited money, NIL money for the University of Oregon. Now, this is interesting because, just a couple days ago, I think Nike, or within the last week, Nike in one day lost 28 billion with a B dollars, and they are now in the midst of huge layoffs. So it's kind of interesting that with that happening to the company, he's also letting the University of Oregon know that through him, unlimited NIL money. Is this, it's great for the players to be able to earn some income while they're in college. But now, is this something like this? Is this taking it too far? Is this kind of a potential negative, Big Mo, for the whole NIL stuff in college athletics?
Oh man. Um, I mean, I think I'm all for the athletes being paid somehow. I think I mean, if it comes out that they can spend any amount of money, obviously at some point the trajectory of the NCAA has to change. Something, because
Yeah.
you can't, I mean, maybe you take the top 10, 15 teams, especially in college football, are going to be able to compete against each other. Otherwise, it's awesome. I think it's got to be great for the athletes right now. We were probably swayed one way to the other. I think we've swayed the other way on the pendulum, to finding a way for them to earn money and get what they're worth. But hey, you know what? There's no rules right now, pretty much, right? So
Yeah.
Phil Knight wants to do it. Hey, you might as well make a run for it. I know they just signed, I think this week, a couple top football recruits. So I think they're well on their way of trying to get there.
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at the reason that college athletes weren't allowed to be paid or even earn money, even get a job, is because to try to keep a level playing field. And now, something like this, that almost like I think, like you said, swings the pendulum so far, maybe the other way, that now stuff like this now really does truly make things unfair. And maybe, this is the beginning of the end of the NCAA and some of these big time programs that will have unlimited money. Maybe they'll just go out on their own, form their own college football entity. Trent, do you like the fact that there's no limit right now for University of Oregon when it comes to NIL, and potentially this could now be the trend?
Yeah, like business wise for Oregon, I think it's good just because there's no rules on like how much a kid can make, and there's no like contract for the kid to have to stay longer than a year. I think if they kind of narrow down some of that as the NCAA, then it can kind of help a little bit. But also, if you think of and it also like depends on the kid. Like if I was 18 making millions of dollars playing a sport, would I be in more trouble or less trouble? I don't know. Because like if you just have a ton of money to go spend, you're gonna go do stuff and go spend it and go out with your boys and that kind of thing. But for now, in the instance that it is, I think it's good for Oregon just because they can tell a kid to like fill in a blank check,
Yeah.
and that's pretty impressive for them in that aspect. But I guess it just depends. Like you could also be an athlete who you're really good, but you're probably not like league bound or like a top pick, and you can just collect that NIL money in college, still get a degree, and then do whatever you want after. So I guess there's two different kinds of kid that's gonna be collecting that sort of money. Good for Oregon, probably not great for the NCAA.
Yeah, and I do think NIL actually, in a way, could potentially make the college game a little bit higher higher quality because it will attract kids that no maybe right now would go pro for the money, even though they're not really ready and they're not really good enough and probably won't make it. Now, because they can earn good money staying in college, maybe some of these players will stay, 2 or 3, maybe even 4 years in college, now making the college product that much better.
Yeah,
Stick.
and I think
I'm
I
sorry.
think
Go ahead.
the transfer stuff is the bigger issue with the
Okay.
NCAA because the kids are going to like LSU and they collect 5 million for going to LSU, and then they decide to transfer to Texas A&M, and then they collect 5 million at Texas A&M. Like this for a school and a coach to spend that time to recruit you and get you on campus and that whole recruiting stuff. Like that sucks to get a kid that you really want and he's there for 1 year and then he just bounces to go to a different school just because some money. It's not really for the game or like for whatever sport they're playing. It's just for their own pockets at that point.
Yep, for sure. Speaking of college athletics, Trent is wearing, I'm not sure, what is that shirt? I don't know.
So beautiful, isn't it?
Here's the beautiful thing about being a part of Attack the Rack. Um, you have the freedom to support whoever you want. We are not going to tell you who to support. Um, Trent obviously is supporting. I still like I'm not sure what that is, but
A bit closer.
anyway, we will fight for the right for Trent to support whatever team he so chooses here at Attack the Rack. But anyway, Trent, you were pretty excited yesterday. I know you were hitting me up about, hey, college football lines are out. Why don't you go on ahead and share your excitement with all of our viewers out there? And what do you got for us?
I am so ready for college football. Let's see. Here's just some lines for some games during the season between some Michigan and some Ohio State.
Okay.
We have Texas at Michigan, or is it Michigan at Texas? Might
Uh,
be might be Michigan at Texas because it's Texas minus 2.5 to start.
see, to me, that probably says that they're the home team, but
I think it's at Texas.
Yeah, it is.
okay.
So we got Michigan at Texas. Texas is the favorite minus 2.5
No,
Oh,
at
Texas
Michigan.
at Michigan.
So that they think it's going to be an upset at the Big House week 1.
Yeah. Week 1, September 7th at noon. Is that week 1?
Yeah. No, that's not week 1.
Yeah, because usually Michigan
Week
plays.
1 is Fresno.
Okay, I was going to say usually Michigan opens up on that Saturday of Labor Day, and September
Yep.
7th would be the second Saturday.
Yep.
So they open
Opening week for Michigan is Fresno.
Okay.
So Texas, Michigan, 2.5 favorite for Texas. And then you got Michigan and Washington with the new Big Ten matchups, which is pretty interesting. Michigan is the favorite by 11.5 points.
Wow.
And I believe that's at Washington. Then we have Ohio State, Oregon. And Oregon is the 1.5 point favorite in that game. And then the Michigan Ohio State game. I saw 2 different lines.
Okay.
The one was Ohio State minus 6.5, and then the other one was Ohio State minus 8.5.
Holy cats.
So
Well,
I don't. Plus, who knows what to believe at this point with lines that are out. But that is the Michigan Ohio State line. And for week 1, let's see. We have Michigan State playing Florida Atlantic, and Michigan State is favored by 11.5 points.
That's it. Yikes.
Yeah. We have Ohio State versus Akron. Ohio State is a 50.5 point favorite. We got Michigan and Fresno State. Michigan is the favorite by 20.5 points,
Okay.
which I'm assuming they will probably go up 34-0. And then actually, no, it'll be 34-6 because Michigan always gets scored on
Yeah.
early against those teams and then goose egg the rest of the game.
Yeah, it seems like they never cover.
Yeah. Yep. And then I believe the big game for week 1 is Notre Dame versus Texas A&M. And A&M is a 1 point favorite. So pretty much a pick 'em for that game.
Yeah, yeah. Um, All right. Big Mo, anything stand out there for you?
No, I'm not into the gambling part of things, Kurt. And
No,
um,
definitely not. No, not you.
no, no. I mean, from all the talk this past the summer, spring, Ohio State, this is the year. So
Yeah.
I mean, I expect that point spread to climb a little bit, just with all the hype behind the Buckeyes.
Yeah, they are the talk of college football. Trent, how do you see that? I mean, that game is
It's so far away.
so far away. How do you see that line changing?
I guess it depends on a few different things, I would say, because Michigan actually has a decent schedule this year, which is different than normal. They play some pretty solid teams. I believe they go west quite a few times this year, so that will be different. Do they play USC?
I
They
think
do.
so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be another one. Yeah, they got some tough ones on their schedule. So if they drop, I don't know, 3 games, I think it'll probably get to double digits, but I don't see it going past double digits at all. Not with a rivalry game like that. Plus, Ohio State's been on the losing end the last couple times, so I'd probably say it would stay around 10.
Um, yeah, no, USC at Michigan this year.
Okay, that'll be fun. That'd be a good game.
All right. Well, what do you, Trent? I'm just curious. Thoughts on Ryan Day?
Mm, I don't know, hit or miss, I guess. I think he's a really good recruiter, but I think his coaching style fits more NFL style.
Okay.
I mean, I think you gotta like when you have the wide receivers that they've had in the recent years, even just Marvin Harrison Jr. Like you just gotta just throw him the ball, because he's gonna try to go catch it. I think you just need to air it out a little bit, and I think he was just a little too much of the ground and pound stuff. And this past year was interesting with a non-mobile quarterback, just pocket guy, which makes it a little more difficult, especially in the game nowadays. I feel like you need a quarterback that can at least escape from some sort of pressure. But I think he's got, I don't know, I would probably say 2 or 3 more years to win one, and then if not, you probably got to find a different option.
Okay. Isn't that crazy though that like kind of, I mean, and his job's not necessarily on the line yet, but you lose one or 2 games a year. You win
Yeah,
10 games every year, and that's just not good enough.
yeah, he's got to beat Michigan. I think that's a big one. I think that goes for both sides of Michigan and Ohio State. You got to win. You got to beat them at least once within your time at that school, depending on how long you're there.
Sure.
But like a 4-year stint, you got to beat them at least once, I would say.
All right. Well, again, Trent, we fight for your right to have freedom of choose who you root for. So
OH.
um certainly Big Mo and I are on the opposite end of that rivalry, and I'm sure throughout the college football season that will provide us with some good banter here on the show. So
Of course.
anything else, guys?
Nope.
Oh, how about a shout out to a good friend of ours? I know Kurt, you already mentioned it in one of your other previous your Monday morning live, but happy birthday! Go shout out to Coach or a good friend of ours, Steve Edson.
Yes.
Um,
Fellow Buckeye.
yeah,
Fellow
yeah,
Buckeye.
yeah, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's too bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, so happy birthday there, Steve.
Yeah, we may have to get him on the program just so that it's 2-on-2 at some point here instead of just me and Big Mo 2-on-1 against our Buckeye. So
It's all right. Oh, I do have something to add as well.
sure.
Shout out to my mom.
Oh,
She hit hole in one yesterday.
what?
Yeah.
It's a hot streak over there.
So
What is
both of
going
them,
on?
both of them have hit a hole in one in the last week or
Yeah.
so, week and a half.
Seriously.
Yeah, so she hit one yesterday.
They need to be playing the lotto.
Yeah, well, not hard for Jeannie to play the lotto,
No,
but
not
Steve, you might have to pull some teeth for that.
I I I wonder. This is crazy, but I am curious. Has there ever been in the history of the world Husband and wife both hitting a hole in one within what was it,
Uh,
7 8 day span.
yeah, something like that.
I bet you that's never ever happened.
Yeah,
Ever.
it's crazy. Crazy. She said it one hopped and hit the pin and then just dropped in the hole.
At Mac Legends?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
That's all I
Amazing.
got for you.
Uh, all right, guys. Well, hey, one more show this week. We will see you tomorrow.